is to look at the issue of the current sector code, which we all know that it must be reviewed. And we also then feel that your participation, given what is happening in the environment, is of critical importance in order to ensure that, one, we transform the sector, but also we ensure that we are aligned with the global trends, because we don't want a situation where we are transforming the sector, but when we are behind in terms of what is happening. Our role as government is to ensure that we sustain the sector, but critically, that will come from the work that you are going to be doing. It's not going to be an easy task, but I can assure you from the side of the department of our continued support, and I'm sure with the evidence from colleagues that I've seen that we've been working with until today, that they'll be supporting you. At this point, I'll just say thank you so much for presenting yourself here, and there's so much work that needs to be done. Thanks.
Sandile, very good, grateful thanks to you for that opening speech. And indeed, it is a very important job that you all have. I think a lot of us actually also have sector charter councils, and the members that actually run the sector charter council. I've been with my sector charter council, I think, for over about 11 years. And the role in terms of that we play becomes a critical role, because that actually drives actually how we actually convene and we are able to hold each other together in order in driving the transformation. One of the critical things that we've learned in the process, that if we go together, we go far. However, if you leave other people behind, you always tend to have to go back and go fetch them, because in that case, we all pull in different directions, and that can sometimes create its own challenges on that side. So obviously, once the sector council has been set, and hopefully all the governing rules and all the governing documents will also be in place, that will also help us in terms of how we govern the council and how the council operate. Out of all the 12 sector councils, we are all obviously structured very differently depending on the circumstances that we have, and you will find the best one that will actually suit for the MEC Charter in particular. So with that in mind, we really wish you well. It's not going to be an easy road. There's always challenges on the road, but we push along and we fight along, we stand up, and we forge ahead with the obvious and in mind the consistent goals of transforming the industry indeed. With that said, I would like to then be able to welcome our Honourable DG to introduce the Minister, so that we can then get straight into the message of support from the Minister directly. Thank you. Is that right?
Thank you very much, Chair. Good afternoon. And let me start by thanking all of you. You know, Minister, I think this leaves me with no doubt that we all remain committed in building our nation through this sector. And secondly, I wish to also thank the Minister, because this is one assignment that immediately when he took office and he said that this has got to be done, because there is an appreciation that if we want to build the nation, we can only do it with the sector. GCIS entirely, or rather not entirely, because I think we do acknowledge that we also have a responsibility to interact with the civil society and with the general public, and the media has been our most important ally. You know, the constitution which drives the mandate of the GCIS is that we are expected, I think it's section 195 of the constitution, that says that we need to inform and we need to make sure that we promote transparency in as far as government's work, and also to be available to make sure that the society is able to engage with their political principles. And one of the vehicles that we have always used has been the media. Media has been our important ally, Minister, in performing the duties that is enshrined in the Constitution. And I thought maybe if we can really focus what we need to do, we need to also remind ourselves what this preamble of our Constitution says in terms of the kind of a South Africa we want. And I think that's the key of what is expected of all of us. And I think I'm saying all of us because we also don't have that silver bullet as government communicators. At times we also get it wrong. And when we are saying that the minister is going to give us marching orders, includes ourselves, because in some cases we have also been found wanting with some of the wordings that we have used, and I remember there was a time when we got it wrong on social media in as far as the gender issues. And I'm sure yourselves have found yourself wanting with some of the adverts that you have put out there and that have caught you out, and a lot of you hide behind creativity, but sometimes that creativity have made you falter in terms of what this Constitution wants. And a lot of you have been found wanting all in the guise of entertaining. And that entertaining has got to be appreciated, that in the process of entertaining, we also have to build the nation. Yes, there should be humor there, but importantly, we've got to make sure that what we do has got that humor, but also helps us to take our process forward. And the one issue that we often we talk about is the issue of gender stereotypes. And very often the media is found wanting. And this charter is going to help us to keep veering this sector into line, that we are having a serious problem in this country when it comes to the abuse of women and children. So in the process of doing your creative work, you've got to bear that in mind. So I thought that we needed to say that. But as a last point that I wanted to also remind ourselves, Minister, is that this sector, the last we were told, remains a group that is not open to all the upcoming advertising companies that are wanting to make it out there. And we are hoping that this council, Minister, is going to assist us to say, let's open the cake. It can't be the advertising agencies as only the few. Let's open it and let's make sure that we all use it, including government. Let us have an agenda to promote some of the upcoming advertising agencies. And I'm hoping that when Minister talks to us and gives us marching orders, GCIS will remain committed in making sure that it provides the secretariat to this council. It also assists the council in making sure that we take the process forward. And with those few words, Minister, I'd like to invite you in this occasion to take us through what your expectations are in terms of the council and what your expectations will be in terms of government communication. And over to you, Minister.
Good morning, or is it good morning? In Afrikaans is?
Goedemiddag.
Is daar nie namiddag nie?
Middag.
There's nothing like namiddag. You're chance takers, all of you. All of you. Afrikaans is originally a South African language. Sometimes we want to remind people, this language didn't come from anywhere. It came out of this country. So it's our language. We must speak it with aplomb, with excitement. It's only Trene who disrupted us when we were speaking this language. So we must speak it. It's a South African language. Good afternoon. Yes, Program Director, Ms. Portia Tau, Sekati, DTG Jacob Maputa, representing the Ministry of Trade and Industry, Honorable Deputy Ministers in the Presidency, become symbolic now, they are not here. Mr. Boyce Manelli, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Communication, Ms. Liliet Mama Gain, MP, Chairperson of the Select Committee on Public Enterprises and Communication, who is joining us from Cape Town, I'm told. Director General of the GSIS, Ms. Pumla Williams, and other senior government officials, councillors of the BBEE, Market and Advertising Council, Sector Council, BEE Commissioner Ms. Zodwa Ntuli, representative of the MAC sector, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, DG Pumla Williams, for the introduction and welcoming us today. Maybe before I even read what is written, I'll try to stay to the text. I think when you talk to media, the biggest challenge is, what kind of a nation do we want to build? What kind of identity will it take? And why is that important? Nations are strengthened and stay resilient because of a particular identity, because of a particular culture. I think in our country, because of apartheid, which controlled our culture, controlled us, controlled how we should relate, how we should smile at one another. After 94, we just rejected anything that makes us part of collective, because it feels like it's a continuation of control of 300 years. Yet I can tell you, a nation that does not have a value system, it does not have an identity. It's got no future. Because the kids who grow in that country, they grow to become anything. It depends what is strong in their eyes. When you watch television, there's a lot of movies, others are not South Africans. I was not surprised, program director. Many years I always say this. I see our children wearing trousers, big, and there seems to be a culture that you must be emaciated when you wear these trousers. And when you check them on television where they come from, it's United States. It's got nothing to do with our country. In my language, we used to call that ingwaju, which is a sign where you are emaciated. And to us, you didn't look good. But did you ever know that because of media exposure, a culture of another country would find expression here. The cap we wear, how do you twist it? It comes from somewhere. The kind of shirts we wear as young people, you may think that I'm just being petty. I'll tell you why this is important. Established countries that have got heritage and identity, their primary source of revenue is their heritage and their identity. Because even the cars they produce, they are informed by their identity. Because they have an identity, what they produce is unique to the identity of that country, and no other country can produce it. The other country can only buy it. We've got Japanese cars. They are informed by the attitude of Japanese to life. But we can't have that car, you buy it. It's like music. You know that Mashatini was very popular overseas because he was original. Miriam Makeba, Huma Segela, but all of us who left this country to America and tried to imitate Americans, no one watched us there because we're trying to imitate them and it at a low level. Because when you try to be like them, you become horrible because you mess up their standard in their own thing. But if you come with your own thing, they buy it. Makadin would have gone to Japan, he would have packed the venues because he was original, selling what is originally South African. So that's the power of identity and heritage. Do you agree?
Yes.
You don't? Thank you very much. So, all I'm trying to say, we are committing to a diverse, united, non-racial South Africa, multicultural, but to celebrate that multiplicity of culture as a single country, it's our unique identity. So, when you talk to media, that's fundamental. I don't know how you design your codes. You change the code, you revise it, and what informs them. But as I work here, I'll learn. But I thought, whatever the code is supposed to be, I'll be surprised that if it is against what I'm trying to say now. That was my long greeting before I read the speech. Good afternoon. I'm very honored to be forming part of this historic occasion. We make a difference in our country every day, but we do not make history every day. Today we are here to grow South Africa together, and particularly to grow our media, advertising and communication sector together. This is a sector that shapes and is shaped by our national identity, cultures and ambitions. This is a sector that connects South Africans as compatriots and connect us to the rest of our continent and the global community. It is a sector that draws on the creative spirit of our nation, both to celebrate and magnify the best of who and what we are. But this is also a sector that can and needs to help us overcome the many persistent challenges that confront our society and economy. Our expectations of this sector are therefore onerous. But the history we are making today is centered on growing this sector in the same way we've grown other sectors of our economy, through inclusion, empowerment, and unleashing the energies and talents of South Africans. We're able today to inaugurate the Council for Media, Advertising and Communication Charter for broad-based black economic empowerment, because transformation of this sector is key imperatives. Program Director, but we are clear that the imperative of growth of this sector's contribution to our economy is our desired outcome. In establishing this council, we have been inspired yet again by the depth of passion, talent, and commitment to our nation that allowed us to identify a collective of South Africans who can square up to this strategic mission. This group of women, men, and young people who believe in themselves, in our country, and in the future of industry, enterprises that have the potential to help us grow the South African envisage in our National Vision 2030. Program Director, I'm pleased that this process has been entrusted to the Government Communication and Information System, which is component of the Presidency. This positioning indicates the importance we attach to the development of MAC sector as part of the broader development of our society. GCIS Program Director bears the responsibility for leading the communications practice in government and citizens through the provisions of official information and through engagement with communities. Communication by government do not unfold in a vacuum. The content we develop shares the information marketplace and the mindsets of publics in the country and elsewhere with various forms of communication produced by civil society, including the private sector. Our communication reach audiences in every corner of our country, but also every corner of the world, as our online content reaches beyond our national boundaries. One area of interest to us as government and to South Africans at large is that of advertising. Advertising is an integral part of everyday life and continues to be an important influence on people's behavior and attitudes, and on demand creation in the consumer economy. This pervasive influence comes with great responsibility. We come from a past where advertising told the story of a divided society. Black South Africans were portrayed in these advertisements as working in a service positions or were included as seemingly fun element. This was done because the producers of products and services were following the money, and the money was concentrated in the white consumer market. Although we have made great strides since the advent of our democratic dispensation, we still do see sexism, racism, and other offenses of constitution rearing their head from time to time in ways that set back the way South Africans feel about themselves and the way in which we relate to one another as citizens of this country. With our eye on the future, we are today to the broad-based Black Economic Empowerment, Marketing, Advertising and Communication Sector Council. This milestone carries the core message of the sixth administration that we grow South Africa together. It also comes with the injunction of our President in his 2022 State of the Nation address that we should leave no one behind. Leaving no one behind, Program Director, is at the heart of our Constitution and our National Development Plan, which enjoins all sectors of our society and all individuals to advance non-racialism and non-sexism. We are also called upon to pursue and sustain social solidarity and pro-poor policies and to redress the divisions and disadvantages of the past. This is the transformation agenda for MAC sector alongside its potential to contribute to the investment drive led by our President with a target of 1.2 trillion in a domestic and international investment in a 5-year period that began in 2018. By the way, yesterday, with 2 years to come, we are only left with 60 billion to cover the 1.2 trillion. I think we can give the President a big hand of applause there. I thought so. I thought so. By the way, I know there's a cynicism about this investment pledges. We just want to, by yesterday, 152 pledges had been made, 45 billion comprised of the completed projects, 57 billion projects in construction. So in other words, it's not just some pledges. The MSc Charter Sector Council is responsible for inter alia, oversee the implementation of the MSc Charter Sector Code, monitor compliance with the MSc Charter Sector Code, provide guidance on matters relating to BEE in the MSc sector, develop baseline indicator for all different elements of the BEE, and engage and advise the sector minister, GCIS, and other relevant regulatory entities regarding the MAC sector code. Program Director, the backdrop to these tasks comprises our priorities of defeating COVID-19, achieving economic recovery, implementing reforms in our economy that will enable inclusive and sustainable growth, fighting corruption, building a capable state, and combating gender-based violence. As the MSc sector anticipate its contribution to this national effort, we are guided and empowered by the broad-based Black Economic Empowerment Act, which aims to bring previously disadvantaged individuals into economic mainstream of the country. This legislation is also our basis for achieving more equitable income distribution in our country with the purpose of correcting historical imbalances. As we launch this Council Program Director, it is tasked with broadening the meaningful participation of blacks, women, youth, and people with disabilities in this sector, not just as consumers, but also as entrepreneurs. This Council is tasked with building progressive partnerships that will unleash the creative abilities of professionals and technically skilled people in this sector and change the sector and society for the better. The composition of the Council speaks to the goal of inclusivity and transformation. During our call for nomination process, published in a government gazette as well as traditional and new media platforms, we stressed that members of the MSc Council must, when viewed collectively, be persons who are suited to serve on the Council by virtue of their qualifications, expertise, and experience in the sector. They must represent a broad cross-section of the population of the Republic, and they must be persons who are committed to the principles of promoting economic transformation as espoused in the Constitution of the Republic. Today, we are proud that the Council has representatives from academia, the regulator, marketers, women, youth, and people with disability, Public Relations Institute, organized labor, outdoor media, industry association, and interactive marketers. The Council functions independently, and the annual transformation report it produces are processed through GCIS. Indeed, it functions independently, and it should. One of the first duties of the Council is to review and align the 2016 MSc Sector Code based on the new requirements issued by DTIC in 2019. I want the Council to complete this by no later than January 2023, which is the fourth quarter of the next financial year, starting in April. The revised code will ensure that the sector can be measured with the yardsticks that apply to MSc instead of the generic code. The advantage of the sector-specific code is that it brings regulatory certainty and enables the sector to maximize its transformative impact by focusing on opening up participation in the sector for designated groups that include women, youth, and people with disabilities. The gazetting of the code will be a monument to the sterling work that this council is expected to do as it contributes in making our future work. We expect young South Africans who are worst affected by unemployment to benefit from enterprise and supplier development elements of this code. South Africa does not have shortage of young entrepreneurs who are pursuing their dreams by establishing MAC businesses. Young people in all provinces need a hand up, and it is for this reason that this council includes 4 young people with suitable qualification who will serve as alternative members. Program Director, the economic transformation in South Africa occurs at a time when globalization is at an advanced stage, coupled with impact of COVID-19, technological governance, which has resulted in advertising revenues moving to international over-the-top service providers, commonly known as FAANGs, which is Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Google. This represents an enormous challenge for the South African government, and we will look to the MAC Charter Council to provide leadership and advise how best government can match their country's successes in redressing economic imbalances in the digital and multi-platform environment. Therefore, South Africa, through MAC Charter Council, must focus all its attention on economic growth and key problems affecting South African economy. The broad-based Black Economic Empowerment Act is also intended to encompass elements of human resource development, employment equity, enterprise development, preferential procurement, as well as investment, ownership, and control of enterprises and economic assets. Today, Program Director, we launched the MAC Charter Council. We express our appreciation as we launch the MAC Charter Council. We express our appreciation to the Portfolio Committee on Communication in Parliament, whose public hearings in 2001, 2003, 2004, 2011 assisted us and the private sector to embark on this transformation journey. Today, the hopes and aspirations of South Africans rest on the shoulders of the 25 men and women who we are introducing to the nation today. To ensure continuous improvement and enable the Council to intervene proactively and respond to issues as society evolves, the sector code will be reviewed every 4 years to take into account the views and expressions of our people, developments in the market, and policy directives that would be issued by the Department of Trade, Industry, and Competition from time to time. Immediately, the Council is mandated to review and align the 2016 MAC Sector Code and submit the final document for my approval within 12 months from today. Develop and issue a draft annual sector monitoring report which assesses the state of transformation in the sector, measuring all dimensions of the MAC Sector Code, including ownership, management and control, skills development, enterprise supplier development within 12 months from today. Be active and, where necessary, provide written inputs and verbal representation on various pieces of policy and legislation development by the GSIS and other departments as it relates to Black economic empowerment, and account to Parliament regarding the state of transformation in the sector. A word of appreciation also goes to all the companies in the MAC sector that have not only embraced the government's agenda of transformation and economic inclusiveness, but have also taken significant strides to make it a reality by supporting emerging Black businesses. I think we should give them a big applause, though. This has taken the form of technical support, skills development, mentorship, procurement, and providing access to much needed capital. We all appreciate your support. I think time in South Africa, as we move forward, we need to spend a lot of our time talking a lot about people who are taking this country forward and spend little time about those who are taking us backward. Because there's a risk of spending our time splashing our media with the negatives and cynics and forget to encourage those who are taking the country forward so that we recruit more in their crusade. Having referred to the Council throughout my presentation, I now have the special honor and pleasure of putting faces to names by introducing the members of the broad-based Black Economic Empowerment MAC Sector Council and the sectors they represent. Are they here? Are they here? Ha! Ha! The names are going to be called. You must watch out whether you are going to heaven or to hell. Can you sort out? I want News Africa to be connected. They mustn't say I hit their mic. It's a lot of young people there in that station. They can hit you very hard. They're very energetic. I'm reading now the names. From academia, Prof. Nicholas Jones. Prof, they must see you. Our regulator is Ms. Gail Schimmel. The out-of-home representative, Mr. Angelo Tendi. For research, Ms. Trish Guilford. For interactive advertising, Mr. Veli Ngubane and Mr. Andrew Allison. For advertising, Mr. Sichaba Mutsielwa and Ms. Kim Williams Tipe. From the Industry Association, Ms. Mate Ukaba and Ms. Lebohang Masilel. For Public Relations and Lorries Company, Mr. Tebogo Ditsejo and Mr. Pritesh Suraj. From the disability sector, Ms. Nontlantla Bakasa. For organized labor, Mr. Jagonel and Ms. Prinsim Tombe. For organized business, Mr. Grovin Jabelin. Not around. Representing civil society, Ms. Kuo Govenda, Ms. Sharin Jafta, Mr. Nkopane Mapiri, and Mr. Veli Zondi. Can they all? And our youth members, now you must pause. Breathe in and breathe out. New blood, new fresh, new everything. Reoxygenation. Huh? I've even forgot what it is. Good. Miss Paulette Masana. Oh, young people. I hope the next one is here. Ms. Mpo Mafela? Hey. Miss Anati Mtanga. Hey. And Miss This is not a good message about them. Mr. Franz Mihale? Mihale? Is it a coincidence or they were not invited? Yeah? Oh! I want us to dim them online. And let's give them a big hand. No, they are online, I'm sure. I mean, that would send a very wrong message. See, those who are supposed to take over are not here. So, we thank you for making yourselves available to serve in this transformation initiative and appreciate the time and thinking you will invest in moving this sector forward. Your willingness to do this work is a demonstration of the spirit required for us to grow South Africa together. I wish you well as you build a team around the council boardroom table and as you devote yourself to serving our country. Again, I want to say congratulations as we commit to grow South Africa together. I'm no longer sure which one is my mask.
That's dangerous.
They will have to get me another one.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, and thank you to all of you. And once again, from all of us, from the department, from the DTIC, and for all the other sector charters, welcome, and we're looking forward to be working with you. Minister, BEE has been it has been an evolution. It started in 2003, went to 2007, and then there was the amendments of the code in 2013. There were a couple of also changes in 2019, and we are here today in 2020. It started as BEE, Black Economic Empowerment, and its evolution. It broadened in terms of its transformation to all the members of organization of the citizens to become broad-based Black Economic Empowerment. And it added more elements as it started originally as ownership, and then it spread to all other elements, which includes enterprise development, procurement, management control, socio-economic development, all of the elements that you know well. One of the key things about this legislation where we have BEE, unlike a lot of you, I didn't hear if there were any attorneys around, but unlike any of the legislations that we write in the country, this is a time-based legislation. At some point, it will cease to exist. What does that mean? It means time is against us. We do not have forever to change. And you could feel sometimes the frustrations that sometimes the society feels about the pace of transformation. So it will be in your hands to actually be able to embrace the challenges that we currently faced. Minister, you asked earlier, how do we revise these codes? And what actually guides us to actually revise these codes? There's a number of elements. In the legislation of MEC Charter, they said 4 years. However, there are a number of elements or a number of circumstances that actually prevails us to actually revise our sector codes. Amongst others, it's priorities of government. Amongst others, we'll also become being responsive to the issues that we face in our country. The challenges of poverty, inequality, and unemployment. So you would know that we had to do the Youth Charter, or legislation, which is the Youth Employment Equity Scheme, and embraces into the legislation of BEE, so that we can be responsive to the challenges of our country. Some couple of years in 2016, there were a lot of unrest regarding the fees must fall. That found its expression also in BEE, where the entire industries had to contribute because our fiscus was constrained. So it wasn't only government that was expected to contribute in terms of supporting the higher education, but all of us needed to contribute. So all of these things, priorities of government, responding to the challenges that we face in the country, will always find the expression find expression in our sector codes, in our BEE. So it will be among those that will actually guide us in terms of driving the legislation. But I was pleased to hear, Prof, when you stood up there and they said there's Prof there and there's from the academia. And it's actually interesting, and I think the DG mentioned about the issues of research. Research is going to remain critical into this environment. We need to create a consistent understanding of what we stand for. But not only that, from that understanding, so that when we talk about transformation, you are actually guided by facts and you are guided by actually research in terms of where we are. So research will remain important. For those of us that have actually done the research, it gives you an understanding, the size, it gives you an understanding who participates in the value chain and who sits where. And when you actually line up all of these researches together, it actually gives you where the opportunities and where you can actually implement transformation. So we do, and a lot of us, we have academia that actually sits, and also other companies that have research experts that sit in the research committee to guide us, so that it guides where we actually need to prioritize our research. But the funny thing about research is that the more you know, the more you realize how little you know. So we will continue to, it will be a continuous journey. As we usher along, we unfortunately did get a message that the DTIC won't be here. However, it is critical to actually recognize the importance of DTIC. And they are a critical component because they are the custodian of this legislation. And why are they the custodian, and what role do they play? Indeed, they drive trade and industry in our country in order for us to grow. But what does that mean to us? How do they make us grow? They actually identify what are the elements that will make the country grow. And one of those elements that they identified was we need inclusive growth. There is absolutely no chance whatsoever that we will grow at the optimum rate unless everybody has got an equal opportunity to participate in our country. It is from that level that once we actually start to drive and ensure that everybody participates, we bring everybody, and that participation is meaningful, and that participation is in the mainstream of the economy rather than in the periphery, which was previously the case. You would know even with COVID-19, I think the population is at 60.1, but with that in mind, at the same time, not everybody is currently has an equal opportunity unless we actually made that available. Okay, so it is that, and it was such a pity that the youngsters are not, they are online. But to be able to embrace everybody, and as the Minister, you mentioned them in the various categories, and it was so clearly articulated how embracive that the MEC Charter has actually embraced all the various categories. Currently, I think the females in the country are at 52.1, which is actually quite an interesting category, and I saw a lot of Mbogoto, so to all of us, viva! So thank you so much. And also we embraced, and thank you, ma'am, to the disability. The country, we did a research a while ago, the country, we've got 5% disabled people in our country, so it is critical to also embrace them within our economy. So all of that, being able to embrace everybody becomes critical, and it makes us much stronger in terms of how we drive all of these elements. So DTI, from that perspective, were the people that will create the enabler that will enable us to grow at the desired growth by creating inclusive growth. BEE is one of the tools. There are many other tools. There are one where you bring rural and urban economy together. There are ones women. There are many of those tools. But this one is also one critical one. And this is where we sit. And this remains our role for the next 4 years. 4 years. It is our critical role. So we would like to really welcome you and really hope that we will put all the diligence that we currently have in order to get us to where we are. So in the absence of the DTI Minister or our DDG from the BEE unit in the DTI, we have, however, managed to secure a clip of a message of support that you will be able to play for us. Are you? Thank you so much. So,
maybe before you play, maybe you don't know. I am acting minister of GTI today. Oh, so
well, the minister is here.
Whatever bad thing you're going to say about GTI, you must watch out because I'm here.
We weren't going to say any bad thing about the TTI. Is it on? Will it be coming? Yeah, please go ahead. Would you see? Sound.
Sound, please.
We will start it, I think.
Sorry?
Even now, no, isn't it?
Okay. We're going to just give it one more try. If we can't, we will make it available to you, but let's try one more.
Communication plays it employs people that resources that goes into GDP, council, and plays a critical role in our economy. It's people that actually generate
Okay.
into.
Okay. Let's not frustrate you any further. We will make it available. We will indeed, Sandile. So we will make it available. So it is an important message. As we said, DTIC, they're the custodian of this legislation, and they guide in terms of how the sector code actually, how we also develop the sector code and how we lead the sector code. However, the important part is when you factor in the nuances and you factor in really the unique characteristics of your industry in the sector, that's what actually makes it and creates the meaningful participation in transformation. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, a warm welcome to the Council and to you to being appointed in the MEC Charter once again, and with the onerous role that you have. We don't have much time. I did mention earlier on that if we can allow the minister to be out of here at about 2 o'clock. Before 2. Okay.
1 minute.
1 minute. Okay. And there isn't much, but we would like to really ask Sisrecho to then come the DDG of Content Processing and Dissemination to really do a vote of thanks. And if I may announce, there's an important item which is photos of the group, so we need to be extremely efficient. I don't know who's going to help us in terms of guiding which photos we do. There's group photos, there's individual photos that we will be taking. So if we can do it as efficiently as possible so that we still stick to the time that we committed, Minister, 1 minute to 2. So the 1 minute to just before 2 to allow the Minister to then leave us. Thank you, Sister Rojo. Please come through.
Thank you, Program Director. Thank you for this opportunity. Firstly, I'd like to thank you, Minister, our Minister Ntate Gugubele, for this time. We understand
that you've got a very tight diary and you actually managed to spare some time to come to this momentous occasion, and we're actually making history by being here. And for your continued leadership and support as we embark on this program that contributes to an economic recovery plan. You outlined it succinctly in your speech of the economic recovery that can be uncovered from implementations of this charter. And I'd like to thank my DG, Ms. Williams, for her continued support and narrative in driving the transformation agenda in this critical space. That's why we exist as GCIS, and through our programs and products and all the other elements that we get involved in, we strive to achieve that critical role. Our program director, you have done a fantastic job, and I think as the CEO of one of the sector councils in the property industry, it shows that we are not just seeing a PR exercise, but we're charting a path, we're starting on the right path by having you, and thank you for honoring this invitation to come and assist us. And allow me to repeat, ladies and gentlemen and appointed council members, I think you should give yourself a round of applause once again. In establishing this council, we have inspired yet again the talent and commitment in our nation, and this is demonstrated by the group of women, men, young people, people of disabilities who have actually come forth and accepted the nomination to be part of this council. We thank the private sector who have joined us physically and virtually. The BE Commissioner, Ms. Zoran Tuli, I think she's been thanked before, and the members of the media for covering this event. As much as we are observing COVID, and there's a few of us here, this message goes to a wider community. I think at this point, we are going to allow the members to take a photo opportunity with the minister, given that we've got very limited time. So I will ask Mr. Nene, who is our Chief Director in Media Policy, just to direct where the photos will be taken. Just taking note and appreciating that we have to leave here a minute before 2 o'clock. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
So I think the media banners have been set up. If we can swiftly ask you to then move forward, it's going to be in the front, I understand. It's going to be in the front, so if we can gently be able to move in and do the photo opportunity for all of us.
Fantastic. Okay. Yeah. You did a good job. Really? Modimo ke pane. Modimo ke much.